Hey folks, Matt from Art of the Image here. Had a viewer ask me to do a comparison between the D7000 and the D300s, which is a great idea because a lot of people are wondering, is there any point to the D300s anymore? And should I just go to the D7000? Now there's a few schools of thought on that. Personally, I'm a big D7000 fan. I'm the guy that had two D300s and went to a D90 and a D700 combination because basically I didn't think that the D300 had anything over the D90 for my shooting needs. It always comes down to that, folks, whatever your shooting needs are. Nobody can tell you what you need. You just need to look at the specs. You need to look at what the cameras do and decide where your money's better spent. So we have the D300s and the D7000. First things first, D7000, 16.2 megapixels, effective megapixels. D300s, 12.3 million effective megapixels. There's one of the big differences. You get an extra 4 megapixels on the D7000 over the D300s. In addition to that, those extra 4 megapixels come in much cleaner high ISO than the D300s does. Probably at least a stop, if not better, and you get 4 extra megapixels. So right there is a huge advantage to the D7000 over the D300s. Okay, so moving on, that translates into an image format size, your picture size. We're looking at 4928 by 3264 on the D7000, and that is 4288 by 2848 on the D300s. These don't sound like huge numbers, but 4 megapixels is enough to be noticeable. It's enough to allow you more croppability, and again, it's not coming at any high ISO expense. In fact, the D7000 is cleaner high ISO, cleaner image quality than the D300s. And for me, image quality is everything. So that's a big bonus, big factor, big plus on the D7000 side. Now, a couple of the big differences between the two. The D7000 takes dual card slot SD cards. It can be SD, SDHC, SDXC cards. All of these are great. So, moving along now, we've got basically both cameras have full compatibility with pretty much the entire Nikon lens lineup. You don't get an advantage one way or the other with either one. D7000, D300, pretty much on par there. They both have an electronically controlled vertical, let me get the term for this right. The shutter is an electronically controlled vertical travel focal plane shutter. Pretty much identical shutters in both of them. They both sync at 1/8,000th of a second for the fastest shutter speed. So that's excellent on both cameras. No advantage either way there. And so moving to my next spec page, they also both have a flash sync speed of 1/250th of a second. Again, that's good. We always want better. I would prefer 1/500th of a second. Heck, I prefer 1/1000th of a second. But both have a 1/250th of a second flash sync speed. So no advantage there, equal terms there. And then we're moving into frames per second. So the D7000, high speed, 6 frames per second. The D300s is 8 frames per second. So advantage D300s. To me, I don't need 8 frames per second. I never hardly ever use 6 frames per second on the D7000. So that's technically an advantage to the D300s, but for me, for my shooting requirements, no advantage because I never use that type of speed. So if that's an advantage for you, then that's an area you might need to consider the D300s. For me, D7000 is still fine at 6 frames per second. Self-timers are basically the same, and you're looking at exposure metering next. So D7000, newer, more advanced exposure meter. It's a TTL exposure metering using a 2016 pixel RGB sensor. It is fantastic. Really liking the exposure metering out of the D7000. 2 thumbs up. Not to say there's anything wrong with the D300s's older 1005 pixel RGB 3D color matrix metering too. However, the D7000 has the newer system. This is what presumably all of the new Nikon cameras are going to be moving to. You're going to see a variation or the same system in the D4 when it comes out, in the D400, in the D4X. So, advantage D7000. Newer, better, more accurate metering system. So, D300s doesn't have that. So, another advantage D7000. Basically, all the metering modes are the same. as far as spot metering, center weighted, all that type of thing. There's not much difference between them there. You do get some more exposure modes on the D7000 compared to the D300s. Is that a big deal? Not for me. I don't really use any of those extra ones anyways. There are two user 1 and user 2 setup settings for saving your own settings in the D7000. Really like that. Not on the D300s. So bonus again, D7000. Again, is that something that's a deal breaker for you? You decide. We're into exposure bracketing as the next thing. Now, the D7000 exposure brackets in 2 to 3 frames in steps of a third, a half, a 2/3, 1 or 2 EV. The D300s does 2 to 9 exposures in similar increments. So advantage D300s, you can get more exposure bracketing in the D300s than you can in the D7000. Is this a problem for me? No. If it's something that you use a lot of exposure bracketing, perhaps the D300s, that's a reason you need to look at it over the D7000. Moving on, we basically have the same type of thing as far as mirror lockup equal on the cameras. And now we're into ISO sensitivity. So make sure my spec pages are in sync here. D7000 is ISO 100 to 25,600 with the high ISO boost. The D300s is ISO 100 to ISO 6400 with the boost. The D7000 shoots to 6400 in its regular ISO range. The D300 requires a boost to get up to that. The 7000 is significantly better at high ISO by at least a stop, if not more, than the D300s. And the D300s doesn't even have the expanded ISO. It doesn't go up to 25,600 that the D7000 does. So, again, advantage D7000. Is this an issue for you? Is it a problem either way? I don't know. For me, I do like the better ISO. I like the cleaner image file, the better quality file. All around, that's a huge part of camera deciding factors to me. And image quality and high ISO quality, D7000 smokes the D300s, so I got to give it 2 thumbs up there. That's a huge, that's not just one check mark in my mind, that's a couple of them. So think about that hard when you're looking between the two, the 300s and the 7000. Let me see what else we have here. We are into the autofocus system. Okay, another big difference. D7000 has a brand new multicam 4800 DX focus system. It is a 39-point autofocus with 9 cross-type sensors. The D300s has the excellent multicam 3500 DX, which is 51 points and 15 cross-type sensors. Now, technically, it sounds like the D300s is better. It's the same system that's in the D3, the D3X, the D3S, and the D700. My D700 has that system. I have not seen any difference between my D7000 and my D700 in the way I shoot for focus. The D7000 focus is excellent. In fact, the focus points, especially the cross-type ones in the 7000, from what I've read, are bigger than the ones in the D700 and in the D300s. And perhaps that's why I'm actually maybe thinking the D7000 is a little bit faster for the way I shoot. I'm mostly a focus recompose. That's center point, focus recompose. I do occasionally use the outer focus points, but for the bulk of my shooting, I don't. I focus recompose. So if you don't tend to shoot that way, if you use the outer focus points and whatnot, you may find that the D300s works better. I'm thinking you might not, because of the new distribution array in the D7000, of the way that those focus points are arranged. You may actually find the 7000 focus is better for you. This is something that you're going to have to check out. You're going to have to play with in the store. You're going to have to take some lenses, go in and play with it, see what you think. Personally, I think the 7000 is every bit the equal to that focus system, and I think this new focus system is going to be, it's a variation of, again, what you're going to see in all the newest Nikon cameras. That'll be the D4, the D400, the D4X, all the new stuff is going to be a variation of this new focus system. So for me, positive to the D7000. Again, for you, maybe the D300s is better in that area. So moving on, I'm just gonna sync my pages again here, and we're down to another big difference between the two of them, and that is movie ability. If you like to shoot movies, if you like video capture with your DSLRs, then the D7000 is a much better camera than the D300S. First things first, the D300S shoots in AVI. That's an older format. It's much bigger, takes up more space. The D7000 shoots in MOV format. So basically what we're getting here is a more compressed file, smaller space, and it's the newer format. It's the I think it's the H.264 format. Let me just double check that if it has it on the spec here. Doesn't list it here, but I believe it's the H.264 format that the MOV is using. In any case, more compressed, smaller file, better. And so for file size, D7000 thumbs up on the video, but not just file size. The D7000 also shoots at HD, the full 1080 HD. The D300 does not. The D7000 is 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames per second, and then a bunch of settings below that. The highest setting on the D300S is 1280 by 720 at 24 frames per second. So basically 720 is the HD on the D300S. So big advantage to the D7000 there in both regards, file format and the level of HD ability. It's 1080 HD on the 7000, it's 720 on the D300S. Do you shoot video? I don't know. For me, yes, I do shoot a fair bit of video now. I didn't used to. I think all of us are kind of evolving that way. Even if you don't shoot it now, is it something that you want a camera that is crippled in that sense? Because that's fairly significant to be able to shoot 1080 HD on the 7000 and not on the D300S. So thumbs up, big advantage to the 7000 over the 300S. Moving on, they both have the optional external mic, if you're wondering. So that's, par, that's even playing field there. And that's a big advantage to have the ability to use an external mic. I'm using one right now. And let's have a look here. Monitors are basically the same on the back. And I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything for you so people don't come back and say, hey, you forgot this. They each have Wi-Fi capabilities. And the big difference next would be the batteries. D7000 takes the brand new EN-EL15 battery. The D300S uses the older and very good EN-EL3E battery. Now, while this isn't a big difference, the battery in the EN-EL15 is rated at 1050 shots. The battery, the EN-EL3 in the D300S is rated at 950. So as per the standard ratings, you're getting about 200 more shots with the D7000. So D7000 gets a thumbs up there. Some of you are saying, well, I don't want to switch my battery systems. I think what you're going to see is with all the new cameras, the D400 is going to use the new EN-EL15. So it's just one of those progressions that you have to deal with. You're getting into a new battery. Not a big deal, and I would suggest that you not use that as a factor for deciding, even though, even myself right now, I kind of like the fact that I got tons of EN-EL3s from other cameras. The EN-EL15 in the D7000 is a better battery, more juice, more shooting power. So again, advantage D7000. Now we're down to one of the last things, and that is weight. D7000 is 24 ounces, 690 grams. D300S, 30 ounces, 840 grams. Again, this is something you got to decide. For me, I like the little bit lighter camera and the feel of the D7000 over the D300S. I'm tending towards a smaller camera these days. I'm liking the less weight, and over the course of a long day of shooting, it wears less on you. And some people, I used to be more that I like the bigger camera. So that may be you. You may like the feel of a bigger camera in your hands. In that case, D300S has an advantage for you. But you got to factor that in. D7000, a little smaller, a little lighter. D300S, a little bigger, a little heavier. Which one is for you? I can't say. For me, prefer the D7000. So, and then basically that is, looks like we got the specs all summed up, folks. So, it's my D300S specs, my D7000 specs. So basically, a lot of advantages in the D7000 over the D300s. Very few for the D300s over the D7000. Ultimately, you have to decide, but in my mind, for me, for my way of shooting, D7000 is a clear winner. I would not even consider picking up a D300s. Oh, and the other thing I should look at, people are making a big thing about, oh, the D300s is a much more solid, more rugged body. No, it's not. The D7000 is a mag alloy body. It's rock solid. It's very well built. The D300s may have a little bit more mag alloy in it, and it's very well built too, but it is, I mean, if you're going to break one, you're going to break the other. They're both very, very well built. Don't be listening to people saying that the 300s is much better, stronger body. It's not. They're both very well built bodies. You're fine with either one as far as construction's concerned. Anyways, folks, that's it. There's my summary. There's my versus between the D300s and the D7000. Hope that helps you out. My recommendation is D7000 all the way, but ultimately you decide. Thanks for tuning in to Art of the Image, folks. Stay tuned. We'll be back with some more articles on what's going on in the world of photography, some more posts, some more videos, and thanks for tuning in.